Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Well, once again, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Before we get started, if you have any questions regarding any of the topics that we talk about here on the show, or maybe you have a question outside of the topics I'm going to be talking about here on the show regarding your estate planning or retirement planning, feel free to give us a call at 800-700-1980, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you do have. You can also reach us on our website at safeguardinvestment.com. Again, that website address is safeguardinvestment.com, and our toll-free number is 800-700-1980. Now, those of you that are new listeners to the show, each and every week, what we try to do is give you tools and strategies that will allow you to enhance what it is you've already been able to accomplish when it comes to your retirement planning. Maybe you're 5 years away from retirement. Maybe you are already retired. Well, what we do each and every week is we talk about things that you can actually control, such as your taxes, things you can do in order to minimize taxes, things that you can do in order to minimize fees or reduce risks on the investments while still getting a fair rate of return. We talk about your estate planning, whether it be your trust, your wills, your power of attorneys. We talk about long-term care and different long-term care options. We talk about beneficiary planning. I mean, the list goes on and on. We talk about pensions and Social Security and all these things that tie into your retirement planning to make sure that they're all working together. Because at the end of the day, it's real easy for someone to show you a chart or graph of some investment that did, 7, 8, 9, 10% last year. But what good is that rate of return if after fees, commissions, taxes, and a variety of other things that we discuss on the show, you only end up with 1 or 2% in your pocket? Or maybe your estate ends up in probate. You got a great, rate of return on your investments, but because you didn't do your estate planning, now it's all getting eaten up by taxes or estate taxes or, long-term care or all the rest of the things that we talk about. So again, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. What I'm going to be discussing on today's show is what is a fiduciary, and also I want to make sure that you understand that not all fiduciaries are created equal. So today's show is that not all fiduciaries are created equal. And the reason why I'm bringing up this topic is because this term fiduciary, I've noticed, is becoming more and more popular lately. And people are asking me about it in workshops, maybe those that call into the radio show, and they're seeing advertisements on TV that when it comes to their investment planning, their retirement planning, they should seek out a fiduciary. And that is true. It's important to have a fiduciary help you, but there's a whole nother side of the coin that I want to make sure you're aware of, that basically you know how to choose a fiduciary. Because again, not all fiduciaries are created equal. And before we get started on that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define what a fiduciary is so that way we're all on the same page. Actually, what I want to cover with you real quickly before we start discussing that is I know that we've had a little bit of volatile times recently in the market. And our firm, Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has created a brochure that discuss what to do in a down market. And the reason why we created this brochure is because so many times we talk to people and they tell us that their broker has told them, well, just hang in there. When they call up the broker and they're worried and they're panicking about the volatility of the market, he just tells them, hey, listen, just hang in there. Well, folks, yes, we understand that the market does rebound. The market does come back at some point. However, if the only thing they're telling you is to hang in there, you understand from listening to this show, there's much more to it than that when it comes to volatile markets and when it comes to your planning. The question I'd be asking, or the thing that you should be aware of is, what are we doing to leverage this volatility in our favor. Because at the end of the day, it's so important that when we have volatility, which we know is going to occur, what are the strategies? What are the tools? What are the techniques that are going to allow us to leverage this in our favor moving forward? So what we have done is we created a brochure, again, that says what to do in a down market, and it's going to cover some general things you should be aware of. Now, obviously, it's not a supplement for sitting down with an advisor and creating a specific strategy for yourself. But if you care to get this brochure, there's no cost or anything or any obligation whatsoever for this brochure. All you have to do in order to get this brochure, just give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980, and just ask us to send you the what to do in a down market brochure. It's going to give you some tidbits, some things you should be considering in a volatile market in order to leverage things in your favor. Now, today's show is about what is a fiduciary and how not all fiduciaries are created equal. So let's first define what is a fiduciary. Basically, what a fiduciary is someone that, simply speaking, has to put your interests first when it comes to your investments and your planning and all the rest of it. So let me just give you some simple examples. If I go to Bank A or brokerage firm A, I don't want to use names of companies because I don't want any company feeling like I'm throwing them under the bus in any way or misconstruing what I'm saying. But let's just face it. If I go to A brokerage firm or B bank and I show up and I say, hey, listen, what's the best CD you can get me right now? What's the likelihood of that particular bank that I just walked, we'll call it B bank, telling me, hey, if you go across the street to C bank, they're paying about a half a point better than ours, you may want to go over there. And if the person that works for the bank tells you that, what's the likelihood of them having a job the next day? And if I walk into a brokerage firm that sells proprietary products and they review my situation, what's the likelihood of them saying, hey, you know what, Rick, after reviewing your scenario, you might be better off going to institution B or C or D based upon, what I'm seeing here. And once again, if that person that works for that institution does that, they're probably not going to have a job the next day. So someone that is a non-fiduciary, they have to offer the products that the institution that they work for allows them to offer. They cannot go outside that box. So someone who is a fiduciary, who is Series 65 licensed, and that's what our firm is. We're Series 65 licensed. We're a registered investment advisory firm. We're fiduciaries. What happens is if somebody comes to us, we don't work for an institution. We actually work directly for the client. The client is the one that hires us. The client is the one that can fire us. So under that relationship, if somebody comes to me and they say, Rick, I need a CD, whether it's Bank A or B or C or D, we can shop it around. We get paid either way. If they need some sort of investment, it doesn't matter whether it's a Janus or Franklin or Oppenheimer or whatever it is, or iShares, whatever we can shop it around based on the client's parameter, create a portfolio that fits their situation like a glove. We get paid either way. So we have no allegiance to any particular company or any particular firm. The best example I can give you is if you're, walk into, let's just use insurance for an example, because a lot of people are familiar with insurance. If you're going to get a life insurance quote and you walk into AAA, well, guess what? They're going to offer you whatever the quotes are for AAA. But they're not going to tell you, well, hey, listen, you know what? Based upon your health, based upon your risk factors and everything else, you know what? You might want to go to Lincoln. They're going to be a little bit cheaper. Or Hartford, they're going to be a little bit cheaper for you. So you want to seek out somebody that is basically a broker that is not tied to one insurance company or not one institution. They can shop all the companies and find out what the best rate is for you. Now, so the same thing goes with investments. And there's firms out there that say, hey, listen, you need to seek out a fiduciary, someone that has no allegiance to the institutions and their allegiance is to you. And that is a good thing. However, this is where the sticky point comes in. If you're just shopping a fiduciary and find out somebody's a fiduciary and you're like, okay, great, that's a fiduciary, I'm gonna work with them. There's more to it than that, because not all fiduciaries are created equal. Now, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, I'm gonna go into the questions you need to be asking and things that you need to be considering before you actually work with a fiduciary. So with that being said, once again, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. We'll be right back. If you have any questions regarding any of the topics on the show, give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
And we're back. You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. If you have any questions regarding any of the topics that we're discussing on the show here today, please don't hesitate to give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980. And you can also reach us on our website at safeguardinvestment.com. And we do have a brochure that talks about what to do in a down market. You want to make sure that there's more to your planning than just hang in there. This brochure is going to talk about some of the strategies you may want to at least consider or implement on how to leverage a down market in your favor. So if you care to take advantage of that free brochure, we can either email it to you or we can actually physically mail it to you, whichever way you prefer to get it. Just give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980, or you can request it through our website at safeguardinvestment.com. Now, before we took the break, we were talking about what is a fiduciary. Fiduciary is an individual or a firm that is designed to have your best interests in mind. They do not work for a specific company. What they do is they actually work directly for the client. The client's the one that hires them. The client is the one that fires them. So, seeking out a fiduciary, I know a lot of people are seeking out fiduciaries now because that's what they hear on TV and that's what they've been reading about and all the rest of it, which is a good thing. But not all fiduciaries are created equal. So here's the thing that you have to take into consideration. Yeah, look to see if somebody's a fiduciary, which is a Series 65 license. That's what we have. We are fiduciaries. But when you seek out that fiduciary, that's just one check on the box. The other thing that you need to look at is what type of services do they offer? Because some fiduciaries, maybe all they do is handle stock market investments, and that's all they do. And maybe what you're really looking for is someone that can actually give you that holistic approach where not only can they advise you on the investments, but they can also help you and guide you on your taxes. They can also help you and guide you in your trust and will planning. They can also help and guide you on maybe some of your insurance planning, whether it be long-term care. Maybe they need to help you and guide you regarding your pensions. Some of you out there, maybe your pensions through CalPERS or CalSTRS, or maybe you have FERS, and you're like, hey, you know what? Am I under this windfall program or not? Regarding Social Security, how is that going to affect my Social Security? So you want somebody who's going to look at the complete picture. So again, if that's what you're looking for, that is a question you need to ask. If you just want somebody to just handle investments, that's it, and you don't want them looking at anything else, and you don't really care about the big picture approach, well, then that is then a second box you want to check off. But again, we want to look at what services do you offer and compare the services with the other fiduciaries that you may be interviewing in order to do business with. And you should interview a couple or two or three to see which one you feel the most comfortable with. The other thing that I want to share with you is experience. Not all fiduciaries have the same experience. Just like when you go to the doctor. Somebody might say, hey, you got this condition, you need to go see a doctor, a medical doctor. Well, are all medical doctors created equal? Just because they have a medical degree doesn't necessarily mean that you can just go to any doctor to work on your particular scenario. So, and the other thing is, like I said earlier, what services does this doctor offer? So if you have a heart condition, you may not want to go to the guy that just specializes in knees. You may want to go to the guy that works on hearts. And when you find that guy and you're interviewing different heart doctors, you want to ask, hey, what is your experience? Do you want the guy cutting you open that has done 1,000 of these surgeries, or the guy that's just, done a handful? So the same thing happens when it comes to the investment world. If you're looking for a fiduciary, that's step one. Step two is, hey, look, what are the services that they offer, like I said earlier? And then step three is, hey, what experience do you have? So just because somebody has a Series 65 license and they're a fiduciary, and maybe they've been doing this practicing for a few years, do you want them practicing on you? Whereas maybe there's another fiduciary that has been practicing or been working in the field for over 2 decades and seen down markets, up markets, seen different administrations, different political environments, and they're a bit more seasoned. Which one do you want to work with? So again, that's something that you want to put on the checklist. The other thing that's going to be important is, what do they specialize in? Because believe it or not, there are generalists when it comes to the investment planning world. And then there's also specialists when it comes to the investment planning world, your retirement planning. And many times when we sit down with clients and they come to us, or we're reviewing their situation, we find out that the fiduciary or the broker that they were dealing with before in the past works with all kinds of different individuals. Everybody from the 20-year-old just starting out all the way up to people that are already retired. Some firms, like our firm, specializes in working with retirees, and we focus on retirement-centric issues. That way, when someone comes to us that is either planning for retirement or already retired, we can make sure, again, from that holistic approach, that the investments are working in conjunction with their Social Security, with their pensions, with their taxes. And because we specialize in this area and we work with retirees directly, we learn from our own clients and we learn from their experiences, so we can share their experiences and what we've learned from our own clients over the past 2 decades, what they've been doing in order to enhance their retirement planning, and also be proactive and say, hey, look, here are some things that maybe you need to take into consideration, or at least be made aware of moving forward in retirement, so that way you're not caught by surprises. Someone else that doesn't specialize in that area might just be strictly focusing on investments and trying to pick the best investment for you, but may not be advising you properly in other areas in a proactive approach when it comes to retirement planning. And they may not be as familiar with some of the challenges that come up in retirement. And all these topics that I discuss and I'm sharing with you here today, and ideas we talk about in our seminars, in our workshops. And if you care to attend any of the workshops that we have going on in the local area, it costs you nothing, and it's a lot of good information. But our toll-free number is 800-700-1980. And if you're just tuning into the radio show, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. You can also reach us on the web at safeguardinvestment.com. We have our dates and times of the workshops that we're having in the area as well on the website, which again is safeguardinvestment.com. You do have to RSVP for those because they do fill up quickly, or you can just call us directly at 800-700-1980. Also, as a quick reminder, if you care to, we can also email you or physically mail you our new brochure that talks about what to do in a down market to make sure that you are leveraging things in your favor rather than just sitting there just waiting for it to come back again. So to pick up where I left off, we were talking about what a fiduciary is. And again, a fiduciary is someone that it has to have your best interests in mind when it comes to investments. They don't work for an institution, so they're not boxed into the products that institution only allows them to offer. They can go outside that box. They can basically pick any investment or any product that's going to fit your situation. But what I was saying was, because at the end of the day, you're the one that hires them, you're the one that fires them. So they work for you, not for the institution. But what I was saying is that not all fiduciaries are created equal. That's one aspect you need to be taking a look at. But then when you're interviewing fiduciaries, what you want to do is you want to ask, hey, what type of services do you offer? That way you can figure out if they actually do offer the services that you want, because not all of them do. They may just offer investments, or they may just offer, things that you just don't want, or maybe you're not interested, or maybe you want more of a holistic approach. And those are questions you're going to have to ask. The other thing you want to make sure of is, what experience do you have? How long have you been doing this? Again, do you want the person that just got their license the other day? Do you want them to actually be practicing on you? Or do you want someone that is seasoned, got a couple of decades or more of experience, and has seen ups and down markets, and have seen different administrations, and have seen different political environments, and some war and famine and all the rest of it, and different tax changes and different tax codes? And, is that what you want? Also, specialization. What do they specialize in? Do they kind of just work with everybody? Or do they specialize working with retirees? Or maybe they just specialize in college planning, or they specialize in some other area. So you want to make sure you get somebody that specializes in an area that you want, and also matches the values. Is this person addressing your philosophy or their philosophy? So you have to have a connection. So if you'd like more information on it, and again, I know the radio show goes so quickly each and every week, and I'd like to go in more detail about this, but if you'd like more information on this specific topic, or maybe you have questions outside of what I'm talking about here today regarding your retirement planning, maybe you got questions about CalPERS or CalSTRS or Social Security or your 401k or any of those different things, or taxes, or your trust and will planning, give us a call, toll free, 800-700-1980. And I'll personally be happy to answer any questions that you do have. The staff can set up maybe just a 15-minute strategy call with you. And again, that toll-free number is 800-700-1980. Once again, you're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show. I'm your host, Rick Rivera. You can also reach us on our website at safeguardinvestment.com. With that being said, brings us to a close to the show today, but I'm looking forward to talking to you all next week here on the Big Picture Retirement Show. Have a great day.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC, is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC, is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC. This radio show is a paid placement.